Hello.
Hello.
We're back.
Oh my god, it's Cult Mother.
Oh my god, is it Cold Mother? What else have I
Cold
been?
Mother.
Old Mother, Cold Mother, Instagram subtitles or captions, everyone. They are amazing. Why are we recording in the morning?
Oh my god, no, we've just spent the past sort of 45 minutes sorting out technical difficulties and being very flappy and wondering why we decided to do this in the morning. Neither of us are really morning people,
I was going to say, because traditionally, historically, I don't think you and I have ever really been what you would call morning people. No, definitely not. Definitely not. I think this was very ambitious, and I'm very proud of us. We're only starting 40 minutes later than we said we would, which I think is a triumph. Yeah, sorry. I have mentioned that it's because I was wandering around the house at 2 a.m. Then woke up with like 10 minutes to spare. Slid into the recording, and obviously my whole ass husband, our long-suffering producer and editor, is in London, and I think has been on the lash for a few days now. So,
oh bless him. I hope you're not hanging too hard, Kev.
Like a sail in the wind, I should think. Was that Kev?
Oh my god!
Audio from Kev there.
A little cameo.
Shall we talk a little bit about how much everybody absolutely loved us?
Oh my god.
1.
It's been so wonderful reading everyone's comments and suggestions for a name and just all the feedback. It's been really wonderful. I've got to be honest, it's been a little bit tricky for me because obviously, Hannah, you're very, face to camera. You speak a lot about sort of what's going on your socials and everything else. And for me, this is kind of a little bit new, and I felt a little bit outside of my comfort zone. And sometimes like somebody's liked or comment that I know, and I'm like, oh my god, they're going to listen to it. I feel like there's a little bit of getting used to this for me.
Totally. And I have to keep that in mind as well, because obviously we mentioned last week that I had Single Fat 40, which was kind of like a crash course in DIY, throw up a podcast, kind of what we're doing with this. And you're right, I'm very used to kind of being online now, and absolutely not really self-editing very much at all anymore. What with being a perimenopausal woman in my 40s, I've lost all ability to do that. But yeah, I can completely relate to feeling vulnerable, and then obviously suffering from that thing that we both suffer with, which is like, did I say this? Did I say that? Did I like...
Oh, yeah. And going back and listening to it through like various different people's eyes, but they're all people I don't really like very much, so I don't know why I'm doing that.
Right, 100%. I think we're both happy to admit that we are absolutely the kind of people that will listen back to the first episode of our own podcast multiple times.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I've definitely listened to it 5 times.
I was highly entertained. Babes, you're hilarious.
Yes. So what did we want to talk about today then?
Well, I thought, first of all, obviously, we should get a little bit of... we should talk about some of these name suggestions that we've had, because I do think that they are amazing.
Oh, my God.
And I do think that we sort of, like, did what we wanted to do with that first episode from the feedback that we did get. First of all, I think that we should acknowledge the fact that we are now making a grand total...
Oh, yeah.
...of €6.83.
Oh my god! I'm gonna close the business.
Right, I actually no, but in all seriousness, I want to thank Tatiana, I want to thank Kate, and I want to thank MK, because Tatiana, Kate, and MK are the first 3 people to sign up to the Patreon and offer us a little support in the form of a cup of coffee. So we are now making Kev, you've got €6.83 in the budget. So we expect some pretty amazing things to be happening for us as a podcast with that. No, all joking aside, like, we really, really appreciate it. So Tatiana, Kate, and MK.
Yeah.
Massive thanks.
Absolutely huge thank you.
379 people, Tommy, have listened to our first episode.
That is actually insane, though. For the first episode, I cannot believe that.
It is, and because I think we benefit, don't we, from getting away from the world of Instagram and the judgment or almost like the reception of things that you make or create or measured in likes and engagement, but it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't make any difference at all. Like Tatiana, Kate and MK
100%.
come through, right?
100%. Like, and how many people did you say it was? 380?
Basically 379 people. So a massive shout out to every single one of you who listened, because that's really what we
well, that's like,
here for.
380 people that have sat or stood and listened to us for 45 minutes or whatever while, doing the dishes or making dinner or whatever else. And that's crazy.
I know, it really makes me smile, the idea of people kind of driving around listening to us in their car as well, as if we were just kind of in the back seat being like, yes, bestie. Run him over, bestie.
Totally. I mean, I'm such a podcast fan and I listen to podcasts all the time. I think that's part of what makes this so surreal for me.
Yes. Yeah, no, it is surreal, becoming a bit kind of disembodied voice as well.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody loves kind of listening to their own voice. I do, clearly. Let's
struggle with that.
Let's go over these name suggestions, because I know
Okay.
you and I are both kind of like, we want to talk a little bit more about kind of who we are. The way we grew up, again, just in the hope that other people will be able to relate and have a little bit of a laugh as well. But naming this podcast has become like... my Roman Empire, because you and I are both mega creative and you would usually love this sort of thing, and I think it's testament to the times that we're living in and how generally stressed out and frazzled we are with other stuff we have going on as well, that we haven't been able to find the fun in this.
I've got 120 orders to work through at the moment. I've had to bring in help to help me with that. So the idea of even just coming up with a simple, 2-word name has been really hard, hasn't it?
Yeah. I had to cancel a deep dive. I do kind of card deep dives. I do a lot of classes and kind of in-depth writing and research on Tara, as you know, Tommy, in the cult. And I can't do it at the moment. I can't do it because I don't have the brain capacity. I don't have the ability to concentrate. And I wanted to talk about that because I know, again, I can't be the only one, right? Who I think there's this grieving that we've been in, this almost like mourning period of I tend to compare myself to who I was maybe like 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I felt like I had all this drive and motivation and energy and who was she? Where is she? Can I have it back, please?
I'm so in the similar position, and I feel like a lot of the sort of creativity has been sapped from my business because I don't really have it. So I've not brought out any new products in years. I'm very lucky in that people tend to just order the stuff that I already do, so I can just sort of assembly line those, which is boring for me. But at the same time, would I have the capacity to bring out new stuff? Would I have the capacity to work on anything new? I don't know if I would.
Well, yeah, but you also are.
Oh, yeah, there is that one thing in the pipeline that I'm not allowed to talk about.
We're also doing something that you and I both do, which is like absolutely forgetting how hard that we do go and how much that we do have happening. Because I have a tendency especially to be like, oh my God, what is the point of me? I wasn't able to do this. I haven't done that. Meanwhile.
Yeah, exactly. No, I am working on a collaboration with another really fab designer, and it's something I'm mega excited about. It's being produced in a different way. So there's that going on, and we started a podcast, so maybe I should actually just shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, people listening be like, and then you both just started a podcast, and this is episode 2, and we've spent a lot of time.
Yeah, I also called you recently and was like, I'm having such a terrible time. I'm so depressed. Last night at 2:00 in the morning, I started writing a book. And I was like, I'm such a nutter. It's like, it was until 5 in the morning. I'm exhausted today. And you were like, why are you saying you're such a nutter? You started doing something creative that you're excited about. Like, why can't you just be happy about it? So the framing sometimes is wild.
Well, that's something else I think we've all had to kind of look at or work on as well, is that kind of the things that we beat ourselves up for and berate ourselves for versus the things that we're supposed to feel kind of proud or accomplished over. Like, oh, I managed to be really productive and I managed to do this. But the minute that we sort of drift off into doing something a little bit different, I mean, admittedly, writing your book at 3:00 in the morning is it's very Bret Easton Ellis. I think that's how
it's just
American Psycho.
You can't control as and when the visions come, can you?
The visions is what we're calling them, not hallucinations.
The visions. No, Jessamy always talks about this because that's what David Lynch used to call them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's visions.
God bless you, David Lynch. We miss you so much. We miss you and the absurdity that you were able to bring to this fucking timeline.
And things have gotten far worse since you left.
Yeah, I was trying to think about how much more worse. This is
more
where
worse.
There's how much more worse. How much worse everything maybe has got even since we last met to record like a week ago. I think for us doing this weekly is going to be a really good opportunity for us to really observe like how fast the news cycle moves and how anxiety inducing it is and how you do get pulled in so many different directions, because obviously we've had the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah.
And all of the noise, celebration, debate, criticism, that comes with
in terms like of the news cycle. I mean, I was up maybe just a little earlier than you, so I've had a little doom scroll. Have you seen that Trump ordered them to take the pride flags off of the Stonewall Monument?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? It's so petty.
Yeah, well, that erasure has been happening in terms of them just deleting huge swathes of information off of websites, that just removing any of the progress that had
I mean, we can see it on TikTok now as well. Like, now that that's sort of in their hands, and anything that veers to the left is just not getting any traction.
What happened with TikTok? It got sold out, right? So basically, I think TikTok basically sold the app and the algorithm and to an American subsidiary company. Or Kev, fact checks, please.
No, it was something along those lines, and now they're completely silencing left-wing voices. Huge accounts, people like Matt Bernstein, Taylor Lorenz, they're getting 2 likes when they were used to getting tens of thousands. So they're just completely silencing anyone on the left.
Oh God.
And I mean, just in terms of sort of internet discourse and all of that kind of thing, we've also got the sort of Child Safety Act in the UK right now, where they're basically, they're censoring anything, and you have to give in face recognition stuff. But it's not that they're just censoring adult content. They're censoring anything that sort of criticizes Israel or anything like that. So it's just, Anyway, it's sort of dooming as soon as we get on here.
well, we knew there was going to be a distinct element of that in this podcast.
Yeah.
The fact that we're both alive in 2026. Thanks, Kev. A majority American board now owns and operates a separate entity controlling TikTok in the US, backed by the mostly US investment. Yeah, that looks... I'm not reading all that, but it looks pretty... Headed by Trump ally Larry Ellison. TikTok US user data under a previous arrangement, blah blah blah. Okay, thanks for that, Kev. Not reading all that.
Kev. I will delete my account. I suppose.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where I hate to say I have been feeling slightly smug, just because everyone was like, TikTok, you have to go to TikTok, you have to have a TikTok. I held my hand along TikTok. I kind of put a couple of videos there from Instagram, but I never really worked on trying to develop any kind of a following or a base there now. But we have to assume that at some point we're going to have to start having the same conversations about Meta and Instagram. And I don't think you and I are definitely not ready to have that conversation, because we're two people whose livelihoods literally depend on the tools that we have built our businesses with and been using for over nearly a decade, me over half a decade now for sure.
It's just scary given the way that that's gone, because I'm like, okay, Instagram needs to not do the same, given that is kind of how I make all my money. Conversation for another time.
100%, yeah. That was, incidentally, one of the recommendations for a title, which I quite liked, because apparently I said it quite a few times. Oh My Goth. I just kind of randomly named our first episode Oh My Goth, which I think was quite popular. 5 Doors Down.
5 Doors Down is good.
Yeah, it is 2 Doors Down, Dolly Parton. Sorry, Dolly Parton. Woke Mind Virus.
Woke Mind Virus is good. I did see some feedback that sort of woke isn't really ours to use, because I think that woke, if I understand right, that might be another fact check, Kev. I think that woke was sort of coined by black people.
Okay.
But we can.
Well, for me, I've been on the receiving end of the word as an insult.
Yeah, so have I.
right? Oh, fucking woke, fucking snowflakes, fucking. So it woke, and the fact that obviously it was Elon Musk, I think, like you said last week, who used the term "I've lost my child" to the woke mind virus, talking about their trans kids. So for us, I think somebody even mentioned the idea of using their words against them. But that's a really valid point, and I definitely probably need to look at that and learn more about that.
Yeah, hold on. Kev's written in the chat.
Kev's doing the most when it comes to copying and pasting from Wikipedia right now, so. But he is making an entire €6.83. So...
Oh my god. Woke is an adjective derived from African American English, used since the 1930s or earlier to refer to awareness of radical prejudice. Yeah, so I mean, learning on the job, right?
Learning on the job, absolutely. Fucking love that. I did not know that. Chaos goblins.
That's a good one. That is real. Can I just Google and see if that's taken? Because that is brilliant.
Chaos goblins.
Chaos goblins. I love
I think last
that.
episode I mentioned how obviously when we first met we were chaos goblins, and I'd say from our efforts to get in here and record this and do this today, we might still be chaos goblins.
I think that might not be taken. I think that's a really good one.
we could have a winner. One of my personal favourites, just for creativity, which came via Joyful Dancer in my Patreon, because obviously the cult got first sneaky access to that first episode. Tinfoil Hat Milliners. Which I just thought was creative, right? The tinfoil hat milliners. We're not only wearing the tinfoil hats, Tommy.
We're making them.
We're fashioning them for everyone else.
I love that.
Join us. So thanks for all the suggestions. I'm personally leaning heavily in the direction of just Tommy and Hannah. Simply because it does exactly what it says on the tin. And again, I think that's just testament to my creative capacity at the moment. But I did love how much you just loved Chaos Goblins.
I absolutely love it. I would say, why don't we leave it as Tommy and Hannah? And as this progresses, things are going to come up. There's going to be funny little anecdotes. So, like, why don't we then just take something as we go if it feels right?
Totally.
Yeah?
I think that is a great... And again, we're trying to reduce the perfectionism to get over the fear-based procrastination, right? And I'm really wholeheartedly encouraging everyone to do the same now. Half-ass it, do it at 20%,
show
do
up
it
at 20%.
while crying.
Yeah.
Just, you know, especially creatively. I think it's very easy at the moment for creatives, artists, anybody kind of doing any making or creating of any kind to be like, what is the point of this right now? We've been through it, right? Like, what am I doing? Or trying to offer people tarot readings or tarot lessons right now. But then I've learned this week from people being like, thank you so much for this space. Like, thank you so much. I needed to just be somewhere and be amongst like-minded people and think about something else right now. I ended up teaching like a whole bunch of new classes because I'd completely underestimated the fact that people do absolutely want and need to still be seeing and experiencing and learning about kind of new things.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, like, it feels gross sometimes running a fashion business in the midst of all of this. It's like, how do I show up and talk about this belt that I make and, you know, this beautiful person's wearing this belt when the world's on fire? And it is really difficult navigating that sometimes and being like, well, you know, maybe today I don't post about that because, you know, today this horrendous thing is happening and I don't want to detract from people getting the news that they need with this picture of this person, you know?
Totally, I do that though, and then I find that I just haven't been able to post anything for like 10, 12, 14 days. It starts to get a little scary. No, so I've sort of started saying to people, it's, you know, it's not that we're not paying attention. If we look away, we'll look back, but it's just that right now it's okay in this moment, in this minute, to do what I need to do just to kind of experience a little bit of joy. And if making and creating sparks joy for you, that's all it needs to do. But, you know, regardless of how many other people see it but I know it's such a cliche, but I do just think art and creative expression during times of intense oppression.
Yeah.
It just is so important.
100%. Yeah, there definitely needs to be both, doesn't there?
You know, it's like, what's this Netflix program? Is it Netflix? The Gay Hockey Players. I think it's actually on Now TV in the UK. I wanted to say Cool Runnings. That's absolutely
Heated
not the name
Rivalry.
of the TV show with the Heated Rivalry. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, It's not great. It's very, very cheesy and corny, but it's fun. And, like, the girls, the gays, and the gays needed that,
Yes. This is what I mean, right? You're like, maybe heated rivalry once upon a time we wouldn't have been having viewing parties.
Yeah.
But we just need that right now. Anything that, again, brings us together, connects us, makes us smile, brings us joy. Super, super important. I think both of us probably feel a little vulnerable with this one, I've realised. Now we've done a sort of obligatory amount of podcast shit talk. Hope you enjoyed it, listener. We do so love you. We did want to talk a little bit about what it was like for us growing up.
So we've basically, I've told you, like, I felt quite vulnerable with the introduction episode. So we're just going to go into the darker periods of your life then.
Yeah, and I think, what's still wild for me is the idea of us talking about kind of growing up and being like, oh, because that was like 20 years ago, honey. No, 20 years ago I was 20.
Oh my God, yeah. So 20 years ago I was 18, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, So, and I guess, at that age, definitely, we're still kind of babies. We're still learning. We're still figuring it out. Absolutely. I didn't move to Berlin until I was like 27. And I was like, oh my God, Lord, Hot Mess Express. We both have the south coast of England in common, right? I'm sort of from the south coast of England originally. I was born in Kent, lived in Southampton, but your mum and dad are sort of in a similar area, but you're London, really, aren't you?
Yeah. I was born in London. My mum is from the south coast, and my folks both moved back when we left home. But yeah, I was born and raised in East London, and yeah, it was a really crazy time because I think I spent that time wishing I was living in the 80s, despite the fact that, actually those sort of subcultures came out of a time of, despair and austerity under Margaret Thatcher. And that was sort of what birthed those scenes. But it was a difficult time and a difficult space. But so I came up sort of like looking back to that time in a period of sort of goth culture in London that was, there wasn't that much going on. Like all of the bands were sort of leftovers from the 80s, and there wasn't really any sort of innovation. So I came up in that sort of part of it, but I can remember just sort of like, I had a very difficult time at school. I was really bullied. And I can remember going to my first gay club and walking in and just sort of thinking, oh, brilliant, I don't fit in here either. This isn't it for me. And I can remember, watching sort of Queer as Folk and things like that, and them having this experience of walking into, GAY or Heaven and being like, oh, this is it, I found my people. And I didn't have that at all.
Because you were already a big fucking goth, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. And I just felt like, obviously now I've got a beard and short hair and everything, but I had long black hair and I was very effeminate. And I just felt like I didn't feel welcomed in those spaces. I also didn't like the music, not to be like a pick-me gay in the way of like, not like other gays, but I didn't relate because I felt like I was so femme at that time. And I feel like sort of gay culture just has such a sort of thing with masculinity.
Well, we have to go back, right? Because you and I have to remember we are talking 20, 25, 30 years ago, I guess. Like, and I remember I only moved to Berlin in 2012, so I was 27. And I remember thinking about Berlin and being like, oh, there's all of these big bearded men with facial piercings and loads of fucking tattoos, and they're all into hardcore and punk music, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Berlin. And then obviously starting to work at AKA, I worked in a tattoo shop run by two gay men with a lot of queer talent, queer artists. But I remember the very steep learning curve that was coming from the south coast of England and awakening to the fact that queerness, and gay men especially, didn't always or have to present in certain ways. Because I had this horrible stereotype of the very effeminate gay man that was absolutely, we've talked about this in the past, the element of survival. And you have to take into account, the way people present, the choices that they make. Anyway, but learning that you could in fact be a gay man and have a beard or be into goth music, or, you know, I really suffered from having a very shallow view of queer culture.
So what you're saying is you moved to another country with this idea that there were going to be all these hot tattooed men with lots of facial piercings.
They're all bears,
only
for
to
me,
realise that they were all
right?
bears.
Like, so these big beardy men with their toe bags and tattoos that were all just fucking lovely, and all into the same music. And I was just like, oh my God, they're all really lovely. We're all into the same music. Obviously, you know, I'm going to meet my husband. And then I was like, oh, they're all gay. They are all gay men. I'm not mad about it, but it was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call for me. And I think moving off of the south coast of England to a city like Berlin gave me the opportunity to learn and to grow and to see and experience kind of different aspects, like I said, of queer culture. But I can imagine for you growing up as the effeminate goth kid with the long hair, not feeling at home in the kind of mainstream gay scene, if we can call it that, was also really fucking difficult.
Yeah, I mean, like, I sort of had a similar experience with Berlin, except it was just like, you know, I'd grown up in these spaces where it was either the gay scene or it was the goth scene, and there wasn't much of a crossover. Whereas I came to Berlin and there was that crossover. There were more alternative queer people, and I sort of got to understand queer as a concept, whereas in London it was only ever gay back then. Things have changed so much now because, I mean, I sort of grew up in this club called Slimelight, which was like, I walked in and I was like, oh, this is it, these are my people. But at that specific point in time, it was very straight. But now I look to the kids that are going there now, and there's all sorts of just like insane innovation in fashion, just like, you know, goth queer influencers and trans people. And it's so wonderful to see that generation and how much it has changed.
Does it make it sad for you and younger you, though? Because for me it does sometimes, because I think you and I have talked about the fact that if we had different language, if we had the information, if we'd had the support, if we'd had we're very interested in the people we maybe would have become as adults if we hadn't been born in the 80s.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's very healing for me, though, because obviously I got sober, and initially I thought, like, I'm not going to be able to participate in the goth scene in the same way that I used to. But I found this new way, and it's, you know, making these pieces for these people. So I get to be a part of that generation in making those pieces for those people. And honestly, getting tagged in some of the pics of these young queer goth kids wearing my stuff, that literally just makes my life. That is what I was meant to do.
I'm honestly gonna start crying.
Oh, bless you.
Because obviously I adore you, but you talking about what it is that you're passionate about and what motivates you, like, we can follow that thread right back to you as a teenager, because you endeavor to make pieces that make people feel gorgeous and beautiful and a part of, and I've always known that's been super important to you, and I'm just having a little moment here to think about, because you took me to Slimelight. We were in London, right?
Yeah.
And you were in London to run a half marathon to raise money for trans kids. My friend Tommy does not run, everyone, right? Tommy and I's entire friendship was built over the overconsumption of vegan kebabs. All right?
Yes.
That's an episode title.
It definitely is. The overconsumption of vegan kebabs.
And I know that, you know, we can talk about kind of why you got into running and everything, but for you to be back in London, to take me to, we didn't go to Slimelight because obviously we wouldn't have been able to stay awake late enough. But it was closed. But, you know, we did a little pilgrimage.
I just said, let's go around the corner. This is where Slimelight is, because obviously Hannah knows all the stories.
Well, your Slimelight is my nexus. Right, and Slimelight is.
Let's hear about Nexus.
Well, Slimelight is way cooler. It was central London, and you know.
What, the Nexus?
Tracing it back to kind of where we grew up. Nexus with this shitty. Sorry, Steve, who owned the Nexus, very nice guy. Ended up buying a pub that I used to run. So many stories for another time. But Nexus was the kind of like alternative club. We used to have Rhino on a Wednesday, which was DJ'd by a guy called DJ Hammy, who used to play Danzig's mother to summon me to the dance floor. It
Love.
was kind of my personal theme music when I entered the club. Not mad about it. And yeah, we used to have Nexus on a Saturday, and Nexus was DJ'd by a guy called Keith. His name was DJ Keith. He used to have long hair and leather trousers, and obviously it was all System of a Down and kind of you know that era of alternative club.
I do.
Where we have stories like my housemate at the time famously threw up, hit every wall, came back out, made out with a girl. You know, it was all very messy. It was all kind of, which I think it's meant to be at that phase of your life. But like that and those gigs I was going to, music, going to shows, this is what raised me. It's where I did a lot of learning and a lot of making mistakes. And I think that's why we maybe feel vulnerable about it going back, is we're like, oh, I was kind of a dickhead.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Right? I don't think you get to be a teenager or grow up in any kind of scene or subculture and not have some stories to tell about how you yourself were a complete twat.
Yeah, I think, today those kids are growing up and documenting everything online. Like that, I'm very grateful that we weren't quite in that period yet. At least not of making like a short form video. Because I'm glad I don't have to see it, in HD.
Can you imagine what your Get Ready With Me videos would have been like?
Oh my God.
I used to backcomb, like I got really into rockabilly and psychobilly before falling into the kind of like hardcore punk scene where I just wore skinny jeans and band t-shirts for about the next 15 years. But before that, yeah, I had this kind of rockabilly phase where I used to like dye my hair black. It was dyed black for like 20 years. But I used to backcomb it into a massive beehive and wear like neon green bows and like skeleton hand hair clips. And I used to wear like pencil skirts with the seams on the tights. With like Vision streetwear trainers, and like there was a real kind of like, it was that horror pops, Tiger Army kind of psychobilly-esque. That was the state of me on a Saturday night.
I mean, we definitely would have been very close friends had we met. I had a brief sort of psychobilly phase actually, and used to go to this psychobilly festival, and it was crazy because it was all these just like big burly men with quiffs that were built like, refrigerators, and all like low-key quite homophobic.
Yeah.
And I was there with like a cherry red lip and like huge hair. And it was just like how I didn't get beaten up. Like it was absolutely crazy.
Oh my God. We've talked about it a lot because obviously we did meet in recovery. We were both very newly sober. We were just two nerve endings flapping in the wind, drinking rhubarb Shirlers, like fizzy drinks outside of the corner shop and chatting a lot of shit. And we've always said, haven't we, that we're so grateful we met when we did. But I do also wonder what it would have been like if our paths had crossed and we'd been friends, either in the UK or in Berlin, in the before times, the dark times.
In the before times, well, we probably wouldn't have got better.
I actually have a sneaky suspicion we might even have hated each other.
Yeah, very, very much could have happened as well. Yeah,
right. I think because I think about me in my 20s, and the fact I was such a gobshite, and I did used to absolutely rub people up the wrong way. Usually because I was also full of about 5 pints of cider and black before I'd even left the house, so I'm wondering if you and me either would have been like absolute besties, or there could have been like a slightly toxic element to that as well.
Yeah, some sort of rivalry.
Yeah,
probably better that we met later.
No, yeah, totally. I'm so glad we met when we did and how we did, and that we have the friendship that we have.
Just thinking about sort of spaces that raised us, I think a big one for me was that when I was very young, I got this job working in a shop in Camden. And this was the time, Camden now is just like various H&Ms and the same sort of studded belt shop repeated over and over again. It's very sad. But back then, it was already moving in that direction, but there was still some leftovers from sort of the 80s and the 90s. So there were some real freaks there.
Yeah.
There were, I can remember I got that job and I was making, I think, £25 a day. But I would get commission on any pairs of trousers that I sold. And my job was to stand outside with my big black hair and entice people inside by being very glamorous. So for me, I'd made it. You know, that was it. Yeah. I was making £25 a day.
You were on commission for selling bondage pants.
You'd get 50p for every pair of bondage pants that I sold.
That was great. That was a great deal, right? Like 50p then bought you 5 Freddo frogs. That's a UK economic
100%
measurement, right? You were only like 5 pairs of trousers away from a pint. £2.50.
Oh my god! Yeah. No, 100%. And I was fantastic at selling those bondage trousers, by the way. And when I arrived at Steve's shop, it was called, I think its official name was Glitters, but people used to call it all sorts of things because the guy that ran it was a bit of a weird one. He had all these various different things that he would say. Like, he basically, your job was to force people to buy things with all sort. It sort of taught me my sort of customer service skills in this way of just like talking so much and saying all these like bizarro things until people were just like, oh, just take my money. I need to get out of here.
Which is funny because when I think about you talking to the general public, and also because you have to sell them something, I'm not sure that's the sort of thing that you could do anymore.
No, definitely not. But I think it sort of informed my decision to open my own space in Berlin because I did see young queer kids come in and, you know, get their first leather jacket or anything else. And it was just, I feel like shop spaces can be these sort of cultural hubs. Yeah. I mean, if you think of, you know, Sex from Vivienne Westwood and all those kind of things. Because when I first got to that shop, you know, I was sort of quite into the Cramps and the Misfits and stuff like that. But there was this woman in the back, like this older goth lady with huge black hair. And there was a record store next door. So at the end of the day, she would be like, right, you need to spend a bit of what you've earned today on, you know, Sisters of Mercy, Floodland, or, you know, any other sort of goth albums. And that sort of built this sort of catalogue of music. And yeah, it's just a time that I think of so fondly. And then I spend the rest going to Slimelight.
Yeah. I was just reminiscing about the fact, and I know we've talked about it before, the likelihood is that I would have gone to Camden Lock and you might have been working, right? Because I used to go with my friends from Southampton on the train up to London so we could go to Camden because this was the only place in the world before we could just go online and buy things, right? We belonged to a generation who were putting together looks, right? I remember I bought my first leather jacket out of a charity shop in Lymington and my dad haggled for it. And I couldn't get over the cringe of my dad trying to haggle for something in a charity shop, but it was like an old Carnaby Street leather, like, and I used to love getting the train with my friends up to Camden because it's one of the places you could buy band t-shirts, patches, studded belts, badges, like hair dye. It's so sad to see Camden Lock now compared to the way we would have experienced it or the way it would have even existed before, you know, we got there, of course. But the idea that I could have been walking around Camden, like trying to figure out where I was going to spend my money and like, and that you could have been there trying to tempt me with a pair of bondage trousers, which let's face it, I wouldn't have fit in. So
I'd have been waving those checked tiger bondage trousers and a Nobody Knows I'm a Lesbian t-shirt.
Yeah! Sorry, we're going to need a minute for that one. I haven't really got a coming out story because I haven't ever. Anyway, this episode produced and edited by my whole ass husband. Keep him guessing. Keep him guessing is my identity these days, to be honest, Tommy.
No, it was just the time of the Nobody Knows I'm a Lesbian t-shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was the cover. It was the cover me in chocolate and throw me to the lesbians t-shirt era.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I get it. Like, dip me in chocolate and throw me to the lesbians already. I've had it.
Yeah, Kev sent me a screenshot the other day, and it was actually a quote from Olivia Colman. And it was Pink News. It was Pink News that had shared Olivia Colman talking about her identity, and she's just like, I've never really vibed with the whole feminine, female aspect of, you know, Actually, I've always kind of felt more comfortable in my masculine, and I've always joked with my husband that I'm a gay man. And Kev sent it to me and he was like, "This you." Which is, again, I love you, Kevin. This is why we got married. It's because I think for him, obviously, when you meet someone who's in their 30s and is like, I'm a little bit fruity, I don't have any other words to use for you other than that. And obviously, this is essentially how we met, Tommy, this conversation.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because there's our subcultures. There's you're a massive goth. I'm a massive emo. Truth be told, I got really into punk. I can talk to you about all of those important punk bands because if I get into something, I'm going to go really hard on it, obviously. And then, like I said, I was in the positive hardcore scene. I was in a band and everything. But I think you and I, despite we've got that unifying aspect of having grown up in these kind of subcultures and in the UK, but we've also got that thread of queerness and growing up in subcultures with that, and that's still not always being a place or a space, as we've discussed, where you could really be comfortable exploring your identity. Or I am of the era that I got called a fucking dyke at school, and I didn't know what that was, but I knew it was obviously terrible, and I didn't want people to think that about me. And when we have those conversations about the people that we might have become, I think that's where a lot of the kind of heartache happens for me.
Very, very similar experience. Like people throwing the gay word at me long before I knew that or could understand that about myself, but feeling, based on the way that they were saying it, that it was the worst thing you could possibly be. And then obviously, as I sort of came into the realization that I was that, it just being the most terrifying feeling ever. Because I've spoken to people that I went to school with since, and it's been very sort of affirming. Like, no, it wasn't in your head. It was literally the whole school against you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can look back at that young sort of goth kid and think, yeah, you made a lot of mistakes and you were a real dick to a lot of people, but you were also in a lot of pain.
Yeah, but I'm sure there are also times where you're also very kind and very loving, and I think we have a tendency with the lens that we look back with to always remember like the worst points. It's like me, we joke about the fact that we were horrendous and probably wouldn't have even liked each other if we'd met at that time, but I've also had to develop like an awful lot of compassion for that kid, right? And also I think this is why we really wanted to talk about all of this today. Welcome to our group therapy session, listeners. It's so lovely to have you here. As much as I've sort of agonized over, would I have been a different person if I'd grown up with different influences, different friends, if I hadn't have been into the things I was into, but also I reflect on the fact that it helped me so much. I think it saved me. I think punk rock saved my life. Because you and I, whether it was, gender identity, sexuality, whether it's we're just kids that knew from the outset that we were different. That we weren't necessarily gonna work very hard to conform and be liked. At the point where we realized that was just never gonna happen anyway.
Yeah. Oh my God, like hard relate on that, because I can remember just being able to sort of explore that femininity in a way that felt safe in the goth scene.
Yeah.
Was life-changing for me, because that was something that I wasn't able to sort of explore before that point. And I think when I got to sort of like 14, 15, I met this girl, Jo, at school, who was the school goth, and we became friends very quickly. And then all of a sudden I didn't care about the bullying anymore because I had this outlet and this community, and we started going out, and and things changed.
Feeling a part of.
Yeah,
wanting to be a part of, but needing that to be kind of on your own terms a little bit as well, in terms of not having to compromise too much. I think we're people, for whatever reason, I think learned very early on that there was more harm in having to compromise and pretend we were people that we weren't. I definitely felt the effect of that in terms of my mental health, my general kind of well-being as a teenager and a young person, let's face it, was not great. And I always feel it's because it's this very difficult awareness that I had of the fact that I just kind of didn't want to do it the way that everyone else was doing it. And I didn't know how to talk about that. And I didn't want to be left out or isolated. And I just kind of felt when I found like the DIY scene, the punk scene, like putting on bands, putting on shows, like I really loved the momentum and the motivation and the enthusiasm and the kind of creativity. But I think these are also spaces where it maybe still was hard to be 100% ourselves. In the fact that I've just realised I didn't even know that femme lesbians existed before I moved to Berlin. I was 27 years old. I might even have made it all the way into my 30s before the penny... working in a completely kind of queer space as well, you know, like, before the penny dropped that there was such a thing as a femme presenting lesbian. Because again, it's growing up in the UK. It's being born in the 80s.
I think for me, I missed out on a lot of those queer identity lessons because I spent so much time in the goth scene that at that point was extremely straight. Definitely not the case anymore, especially in London, but... yeah, definitely missed.
Well, I can tell you the South Coast hardcore scene was fucking straight. I tell you, it was very white. It was very, very straight. There was an awful lot of drama because it's young people and there's booze involved, and you know, like. But I also remember the kindness and the camaraderie and the DIY ethos, and again that idea of let's have this conversation today, because I think in many ways I feel like we've been kind of training for this. I feel like it's time for people who grew up in these subcultures, especially, now is the time for us to stop talking the talk and to walk the fucking walk.
Oh, 100%.
Right, in terms of these were movements that were supposed to be, you know, non-conformist, and for me non-conformist is anti-capitalist, so that again, that DIY ethos of, and you have, you know, whenever I think about it in relation to the goth scene, I think about Einstautsender Neubauten. How was
oh my
that?
god, you got the pronunciation. That was bang on.
Einstautsender Neubauten, Blixer Bargeld, know about that, right? So because there's crossovers, obviously, in all of these subcultures. I think about the fact that everyone, you know, people think about Blixer as a musician and that kind of sound, and it literally is because there weren't any instruments in Berlin, Germany at the time that people like Blixer Bargeld were young people, so they were knocking industrial pipes on the ground and using the sound, and like that ethos has always had magic in it to me.
Well, when you think about sort of industrial music, you know, Neubauten and then, you know, Throbbing Gristle in the UK and bands like that, you know, it was actually born out of sort of working class culture and people that were working in factories. Yeah. You know, like it was something that spoke to the people.
I was just thinking about mods and rockers, you know, going back to before us and, you know, seeing the emergence of kind of seeing subcultures post World War II and the 1950s, and just this idea that you could find people who aligned with your values and aligned with your beliefs, and you could build your own world within the world. You could have your own kind of little bubble, and you escaped into Camden and into the goth clubs, and I escaped into dive bars where they would throw up punk shows with, you know, I used to put on bands in the pub that I managed, story for another time, and we used to just borrow all the equipment out of the university across the park, you know, people bringing amps and things over on skateboards, and I'm getting misty-eyed just talking about it.
This was, I think, like me coming into my creativity this time. So I had this friend, Catherine, and I would go over to Catherine's house. She lived with her parents still, and she had the attic room. And we used to watch the Cramps on a VHS, and she taught me how to do screen printing, and we would screen print. Like, I was so obsessed with the Cramps at that point that I was doing all these screen print designs of like TV sets with eyeballs for dials and all this stuff from their lyrics, and then I would draw around her to make the pattern for the dress, completely screen printed, and then we would go and sell them at like the Electric Ballroom Market in Camden. And it was such a special time. We annoyed the fuck out of our parents. They would sometimes kick us out of the house at 2 a.m. because we were just being drunk and really loud. And we would go and sleep in the cemetery down the road. And it would be like a double tomb, and we would spread like satin leopard print bed sheets, and we'd be just drinking cheap cider and just laughing all night in these graveyards. It was such a wonderful time, and I do miss it.
Edward Cider Hands.
Edward Cider Hands, exactly, which was a game that we used to play where we would strap a bottle of cider to each hand, and the first person that would either wet themselves or had to take it off had lost.
Alcoholism.
Yeah.
Teenage alcoholism, again, a conversation for another time. But yeah, I think for me, I do a lot of, you know, like I said, the mourning, the grieving around not having that energy anymore, that not being the phase of life that I'm in, but I think we need to reconnect with it. I think we need to kind of keep that kind of in your face, don't give a fuck, creative, I'm going to do it my way or fucking not at all kind of energy just in our daily lives right now. I just in terms of that, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. I don't need to be, vomiting on the dance floor and, with the hairspray that's melted into my eyes so I can't see while beating my chest. I don't know necessarily whether I need to go back to that. But I can still take the energy of fuck you, I won't do what you tell me into my emails or my interactions on the phone or with my, just that whole like, just because I have to be grown up now and have to do things like insure my car or, do my taxes doesn't mean that I am asked to completely forget that person and that time. And I'm so glad that like I've got that DIY ethos that essentially was about bringing people together who didn't have very much in order to make something happen.
As you were talking just then about your hairspray sort of dripping into your eyes, I couldn't help but think about how I used to shave my eyebrows off, draw them back on very high, and then I would paint over them with clear nail polish so they wouldn't come off. So I just was walking around with nail polish on my face most of the time.
Crusty. Just a little bit crusty. Lord.
Oh
well,
God.
We have talked about a lot today.
We have.
We've taken a magical trip down memory lane. It's left me feeling a certain kind of way. I'm not going to lie. I'm definitely feeling a little bit nostalgic and quite old. But I've also learned that 40 is not old. I have to, and we as a society have to get the fuck over this whole, especially as a woman, like I am finished, I'm done. That part of my life is simply in the rear view now, because I think that there's still so much time to be prolific, to be audacious, to be creative, to be confident, to really, I think we find our stride in so many different ways, in so many different phases, in so many different places of our lives. I'm just so glad that our worlds did collide in Berlin when they did. Crazy. Are you still in touch with a lot of people from that time in London?
Yeah, in some capacity, a few of them. Yeah, we definitely check in. Even sometimes it's just sending each other quotes of ridiculous things that we used to say that we've remembered. Like I've definitely got some people just like in my Instagram DMs where we just regularly will send each other just silly things or pictures from that time.
Yeah.
Because it was really magical.
Yeah, I love it when you surface new photos and send them, and I get to see you with your long hair.
Well, we'll have to dig some out for like when we're promoting this episode. We'll have to dig
absolutely.
Out
so if you can join our Patreon. So we've got a Patreon, patreon.com/Tommy and Hannah. And the reason we felt Patreon was the right place for the podcast to live, we've talked about not wanting to kind of put it on Spotify and Apple or push or promote those places right now. But also you can join Patreon for free. I just want everyone to know this. You can sign up. It means that we can message you. We can let you know when there's new episodes. You can engage in polls. We're going to be doing some behind the scenes kind of stuff in the Patreon. We're going to be doing some live recording. We're going to be doing kind of question answers with our guests. So you don't have to pay us anything. But if you would like to add to the current €6.83 total, we absolutely would appreciate it. So it's patreon.com/Tommy and Hannah. And I think that's where you're going to be able to find us now. Moving forward, shall we get organised for our episode next week?
Yeah, have you got an idea of what we're going to do?
I have a cunning plan. Let me run it past you.
Ooh, okay.
I would be very keen at the moment for us to do what we've been calling Agony Uncles. So the term Guncle, gay uncle. I have gay uncle energy. Like,
I still think that should be the name personally, but
Guncles. Agony Guncling
Guncles.
with Tommy, but let's do some of it and see if we're any good at it. Let's see how it goes. So I would suggest that people use our Patreon because you can send us private messages. You could use the comments. We can keep you anonymous if you want us to keep you anonymous, or you can also ask us to give you a shout out. Maybe you want to use an alias. But I would love to hear any questions that you have, anything that you're curious about, anything you think that Tommy and I could lend our insight or our experience to. We'd love to do a little bit of agony gunkling.
I can't wait for that.
Right?
Give us the goss.
I want to know what people are up to. I want to know where people are at in their kind of day-to-day, their dilemmas. We're so lucky to have built up kind of very diverse communities around the other work that we do. And so I want to hear from our lot. I want to hear stories from people growing up in their own scenes and subcultures and how big their hair was.
And how many secrets were hiding in it.
Yeah, at the alternative club, right? How many secrets were you hiding in your hairdo in the early 2000s? But yeah, if people want to write in, we are not therapists, we're not counsellors, we're just tired elder millennials who will probably be able to relate and maybe share a little something again from our own experience. And we will
tell you to dump your boyfriend.
Yeah, people always joke that, you know, in my card work, it's always break up with him, dump him, and quit your job, basically. So that might very well be the tone. But also, you know, again, if you just want to be a part of something, if you just want to reach out, if you just need to feel seen or feel heard right now, we'd also just love to read your messages, even if you don't want them being broadcast over the airwaves on our podcast. I think that's quite a lot for today.
Yeah, I think we did fit quite a lot in, didn't we?
Yeah, and obviously this is definitely a topic that you and I will talk about more.
Yeah.
It's been very nice to go down memory lane today, though. But I think we've also both learned that recording in the morning is not the one.
It's quite tricky. It is quite tricky.
And so for all of my fellow neurodivergent baddies out there, just because you can't get up early and like girl boss, right? Just because you can't like smash your way through drinking hot water or whatever the fuck it is you're supposed to do when you get out of bed, and right, and so you can sit down and be magically productive on one topic for 8 hours straight. I just want to reassure you that you are absolutely not alone in that. And that
I think we did all right, given that we were absolutely knackered.
We were knackered, and we're knackered because we're stressed out, because the world is stressful and it's very tiring. I can't get there. I can't. I'm trying to process all of the like trauma of what we are having to again kind of bear witness to, read, learn, unpack. And I haven't even really been able to, with any seriousness, even start to scratch the surface of what it is that some people have started speaking about, right? Like,
yeah.
So again, just that acknowledgement that whatever you're doing in the day that you're in is enough. And for us, the only way we're going to do this and bring you anything new or be creative or put anything online is, like I said, with a big dose of realism and the fact that it is incredibly challenging and difficult.
Absolutely.
in this moment.
Yeah, and just showing up anyway.
Yeah, showing up anyway. Because I don't know about you, I've still got somewhere just this little spark of excitement.
Yeah.
Because actually, as someone who has been thinking about, talking about, or imagining revolution in some form or another since my teenage years, I think this might be the closest that we've actually gotten in our lifetime, in the countries we've lived in, to actually being able to coordinate, organise, and rise up.
Well, there is going to have to be one at some point, however inconvenient it might be.
Yeah, it's fucking inconvenient. I had other plans. for my 40s. Life throws curveballs, and you have to be in other places, and you have to be doing other things, and. But that is just so compounded by the sheer horror of everyone's shared day-to-day reality. And there's got to come a point now, surely, where enough of us are going to say enough. Enough.
You know, just pointing to something like the Epstein files, it's so difficult because if there isn't that change, those people aren't going to be held accountable. You know, those people are going to be able to carry on their lives as usual because they have, you know, the cushion of all their wealth and privilege. And unfortunately, that kind of thinking needs to go. Like these people the victims should get to decide what happens to those people.
Exactly.
Like prison is not enough at this point.
No, we've long said in our subcultures, in our scenes, right? Like, if not now, then when?
Yeah.
If not us, then who? And that's why, like, I feel in many ways, I'm like, oh, all of it's been leading up to this.
Yeah, it's very difficult to even speak about this on a podcast, because it's difficult to do so without actual violence in my words, because I'm so angry.
Yeah.
I'm so angry. And I think the difficult thing is it sometimes feels like there's nowhere for that to go.
But this is also because we've been sold pacifism as wellness. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
This again is a whole new episode. It's especially linked to the kind of work that I do and some of the frustration or the ill feeling that I have around that industry. And a lot of that work right now is that we have learned that being malleable and peaceful and, they go low, we go high, it's not only the moral high ground, it's the place where you're going to be most emotionally, spiritually kind of well and balanced, which I honestly think is bullshit. Like, if we do not learn how to get okay with anger, the anger is going to eat us. It's going to make us all very, very ill, because it's not being externalized and it's not being expressed in the right ways, because none of us want to talk about direct action. None of us want to talk about the inevitable culmination of this rage being violent.
Well, I think anything that sort of numbs us to the collective suffering is really dangerous in this time.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are tangenting again, aren't we?
Yeah. It's gonna happen, isn't it, Tommy? You and me. Okay. Well, that's a lot for today. Kev's probably sat there now, staring down the barrel of editing this, just sweating. But you better work for your €6.83, Kev.
You better work.
But you better work. You better work. Okay, so we'll absolutely let you know where it is that you can give us your queries, your questions, which we would absolutely love to unpack for you on our next episode 3. And please come and join our Patreon. So you can sign up for free if you want to become a supporter. Again, thank you so much. So a big shout out to Tatiana, Kate and MK for being early adopters, the first on board. We absolutely do. Thank you so much. It's, there'd be nothing worse than us being like, we did a thing. And everybody being like, great.
Another podcast.
Great. But, from the feedback we've had, the people that are listening, the why you're listening, the where you're listening, we've absolutely loved to hear it. So please stay in touch. Let us know kind of who you are, where you are, what you're doing. We really want to get to know you more. What are you up to for the rest of today?
Well, I took the day off because if I'm doing a thing in the morning, that means I can't make belts in the afternoon. So I'm going to go for a run because I've had runner's knee and haven't been able to run and I want to get back into it. So I'm going to start that.
You are looking gorgeous. I don't know whether that outfit needs to be changed for your running outfit right now. I think maybe you should just go to West Berlin.
Go for lunch.
Like, one of our favourite things to do together was to go, because we lived in, not in West Berlin. Oh god. Anyway, we used to go to the west of Berlin, which is kind of like the bougie bit with the posho shopping centre that has all the designer bags and everything in. And you and I used to just go up and down the escalators, looking at ourselves in the mirrors mainly,
taking pictures
of ourselves, being great big grungers.
Great big grungers.
We've realised that grungers is only a UK term, so we'd also love to hear what you got called as an alternative teenager growing up wherever you grew up. We used to get called Grungers, Emos.
Satanist.
Satanists.
Yeah. Oh, some of the things people used to say to me. I used to get called Boy George a lot, which I had no problem with, obviously. I remember once being on the train and some man just tapped me on the knee and went, "Oi, mate, are you going to High Barnet?" Because of the big hair.
I'm sorry, but that's fucking hilarious. What a legend.
And that was one of the best ones. I was like, do you know what? Like, people always say the most horrific things to me. I'll give you that one. Like, that was really good.
Yeah, you can have that one.
You can have that.
Absolutely have that one. Anyway, we'll talk about all the times that I used to just get misgendered by people deliberately.
Yeah,
how much I used to cry about it because of how confusing that was. Yeah. I think we'll probably definitely have a chat about that at some other point. But thanks again for listening to us today. It's patreon.com/Tommy and Hannah. And we can't wait to hear from you for our Agony Gunkling episode next week.
Thank you so much for joining us for this, our first episode after the introduction. I am Tommy, that's Tommy Vowles at Instagram, and Hannah is Cult Mother Taro. And we are still taking suggestions for the name. Right now it is still Tommy and Hannah, but we are open for any suggestions. Thank you so much for listening. Have a fab day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.